both sides. We have corporations. There is so much corruption across the board, and hopefully people aren't going to fall for this rhetoric. I mean, you can't expose one side and say they're the criminals without your dirt getting revealed as well. Kind of like, what happened with Harry Reid calling, the Bundy supporters domestic terrorists, and then it turns out that he's got huge investments in that land so he can sell it, rent it out to the Chinese for solar farms, and, prop up his son so that they can get a cut of the action as well. So, I mean, you really can't expose just, shine the light on one set of criminals. You're all going to be exposed eventually. But now, this amendment probably will not succeed, but it just goes to show how far Harry Reid and his colleagues will go to take down any of their political adversaries. We saw this with the targeting of Tea Party groups by the IRS. And of course, the new emails that Judicial Watch uncovered exposed that the White House lied about that cover-up as well. They lied about the IRS scandal just like they lied about the Benghazi. Those emails came out. But those emails seem to disprove the Obama administration's claim that the targeting of Tea Party groups was the result of 2 rogue agents in the Cincinnati office. And, as we know, they got their orders from somebody. They weren't just these rogue agents, and that's been proven. And I'm sure that scandal is just going to get blown wide open as the investigation goes on. But that's what they do. They want to silence anyone who has an opinion or who has evidence of anything that's contrary to their agenda. And we see that again and again. Harry Reid's willing to write that corruption right into the Constitution if he can get away with it. But, anything that counters their agenda, what they're trying to pass, what they're trying to push through with their New World Order, we see that again and again with global warming. Critics of global warming get silenced. Now, a professor whose studies suggest that global warming was just kind of been exaggerated. His study was rejected by a respected journal because it might fuel climate skepticism. Now, this alarming intervention raises fears of McCarthyist pressure for environmental scientists to conform. It came after a reviewer said the research was less than helpful to the climate cause. Now, Professor Bankston's paper suggests that the Earth's environment might be much less sensitive to greenhouse gases than previously thought. And if he and his 4 co-authors are correct, it would mean that carbon dioxide and other pollutants are having a far less severe impact on climate than green activists would have us believe. Now, the professor said the problem we now have in the climate community is that some scientists are mixing up their scientific role with that of a climate activist. And that's it. I mean, they can't have any dissenting opinion. If they do, then they're going to have to change their policies. And the Pentagon might have to give back all of that money that they're spending to fight global warming. They're preparing for global warming. So the Department of Defense is factoring in consensus-based forecasts of a warmer planet into its military preparedness models. This is from NBC News' Bill Briggs. He says, the U.S. military and intelligence agencies are increasingly monitoring and preparing for how, when, and where the consequences of a warmer planet will collide with national security. But the problem is that the Department of Defense's mission reality is based on the outcome of a political debate, not on sound science. Climate models have been predicting rising temperatures for the past couple of decades, and there hasn't been any warming now for 18 years. So, but, we can't talk about science. We can't talk about that because then that means they might have to start being a little bit more responsible with how they spend our tax dollars. But that's not going to happen. They will not let that happen. Nobody needs to look at science. Any dissenting opinion can be pushed aside. And of course, that's not going to stop the Obama administration from just wildly spending your taxpayer dollars. They still have no idea how Obamacare is going to be funded. We touched on this a little bit yesterday, but coming up, we're going to really break down how the Obamacare taxes are going to affect Medicaid recipients because they have no idea how they're going to be paying for this particular tax, and Medicaid is going to be in violation of the federal law if they can't get this funded. And it's not just Medicaid recipients that have to worry about Obamacare. Now they're saying Obamacare is to blame for an Iowa hospital laying off 29 people. They're trying to be able to make $38 million in cuts because of these Obamacare provisions, along with low payments from Medicare and Medicaid. So we'll have more on that coming right up. And then David Knight and Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs will be in studio to talk about their experience there at Fort A.P. Hill. All that and more coming right up.